Hi, Twinks and Brunettes. So I was inspired to start an LEPacy from Aliouf here on YouTube. I hope I'm saying that right. I've done one before, but on my own time, and I decided that this time I would record it and include you guys in it. I refuse to call it the thing people usually call it because it sounds too much like leprosy and it gives me chills down my spine every time I hear it or say it. Around here, we're going to call it an LEPacy, alright? I made a female sim for my first EP, which technically isn't an EP but is just the base game. Camille Sailor is handy, charismatic, a green thumb, and an artist, but nobody's perfect, so she's also a mooch. I almost never play with that trait, and I hesitated between that one and mean-spirited for base game traits that I never use, but I settled on this one. I also considered frugal, but it didn't feel like it would have the same negative potential as mooch did. I also kind of forgot to turn off all of the packs before I started creating her, and I only realized once I got to the outdoor outfit. So after this, I saved and quit and turned off every single pack in the game in the Sims 3 launcher to make sure that I wouldn't use anything that wasn't base game for this generation. I started by visiting the grocery store and going around town to harvest every plant I could find to start my own garden. Since I was playing with base game only, I wanted to do the most of the base game skills and make my money by gardening, fishing, and painting. I also gave Camille the lifetime want of reaching level 10 in 3 skills, and I expected those skills to be gardening, handiness, and painting. I also chose to join a part-time job by finding work at the library. It wouldn't pay enough to turn into a main source of income, but it would also help with the bills and upgrading the house. Instead of starting on an empty lot, I chose a starter home, and I know this may not be the exact spirit of the challenge, but I am honestly sick and tired of rags to riches. The house is total shit anyway, and all the furniture is cheap and continuously pisses Camille off. I started fishing at the cemetery at this time for no particular reason. I could have fished anywhere, but it did give me an idea. I have story progression in my game, and even though I tune it to make it so Sims don't get into relationships as quickly or have 6 children and 10 dogs, the amount of notifications I was getting about new relationships let me know that I was in trouble. This meant that if I wanted to find someone to have a baby with, a ghost might not be a bad idea. I didn't want Camille to start her family too late, and having her heir become a teenager would unlock world adventures. With that being extremely exciting to me, I started shopping around for the right ghost, eventually settling on Ransom Clavel. I was not too sure how he was related to the Clavels, but he looked really cool with his mohawk and he was flirty, so it was easy to romance him. I even got into a relationship with him. I didn't even know it was possible to do that with a ghost that wasn't playable. I desperately wanted to get pregnant with this ghost on that very night because I knew how annoying it would be to check back every night for the next opportunity. Unfortunately, Kimmy was way too tired to tour the museum with Ransom, and I wasn't even sure if woohooing in the crypt was possible. She went back home to her house full of broken shit, unbred, but with a dead boyfriend. She was still keeping up with her garden, getting some opportunities to bring higher quality crops to the restaurant. That did give me a nice boost of cash that I saved to get a future house upgrade. I'm not known to be a builder in The Sims 3, so if I ever wanted her house to be better, she would have to move. Camille was constantly hungry and tired. I was forcing her to lead a very fast-paced life. Her daily grind was wake up, make something to eat, take care of the garden, go to work, go to the cemetery, and wait to get lucky. Her garden wasn't even that big, but taking care of it would eat up most of her days anyway. Since I was already there all the time, I took the decision to start working at the mausoleum instead of the bookstore. I thought that might help since the workday started later and I would already be at the cemetery once Camille would get off work and immediately try to find another way to get off. Ransom appeared the next night, but I was still adamant on trying to conceive this child in the mausoleum. Every time I would ask them to tour it together though, it would not go through, so I decided to just take the damn ghost to my house. They had a nice woohoo in bed in the wee hours of the morning, and Camille got pregnant on the first try. Well, now I was working at the cemetery but had no reason to anymore, so that was great. She started showing quickly, and with the speedy pace of her life, her pregnancy was over in no time. She wanted a boy, so I made sure to have her eat plenty of apples. On the last night before becoming a mother, I had Camille spend the night in the cemetery as I waited for her to go into labor. I wanted to see if Ransom's ghost would appear and join me to the hospital, but alas, he did not. A beautiful baby boy named Strider was born in the early morning. That name felt perfect for a future international grave robber and son of a random ghost that had drowned for unexplained reasons. As soon as she walked out of the hospital with her newborn though, Camille got the one to get married. This isn't rare for unmarried Sims who've just had a baby, but there was no way she would ever get married to her ghost boyfriend. The first problem was that he wasn't playable, and I didn't have an easy way to make him playable. And the second problem was that he'd been dead for decades. I checked, and Strider was technically Buster Clavel's brother. Poor Buster had already died from old age and would never know he'd gotten a brother beyond the grave from his severely decomposed father, coupling up with the hottest new girl in the villa. The plan was then to break up with Ransom definitely. I'd been way too tempted with the possibility of asking him to be my boyfriend that I had not stopped to think if that was something I should have done. Night after night, while my child got older alone at home, as he was supposedly being watched by a very buggy teen that looked like an elder, I waited for Ransom to appear so that I could end things between us. Camille somehow found the time to teach her son each of his toddler skills, despite this task taking most of her mental energy. Strider looked just like her and had her hair color. It was almost like she'd reproduced all on her own. It may have been easier for her to pretend like that was what she'd done. I don't know if it's weirder to bone a ghost and get pregnant from their dubious ectoplasm or to somehow get yourself pregnant with yourself. We all know I'm no stranger to that in The Sims 3.
I'm fucking pregnant with myself!
I finally got an easel at this point and had Camille and Strider start painting for fun, giving the family a small boost of money at the same time. I wanted them to move soon, so I had to travel down as many profit avenues as possible. For anyone who knows me, you'll know how huge this is. I gave Strider a makeover. I am usually way too lazy to fix the outfits of my toddlers, kids, and teenagers in The Sims 3 and just wait for them to become adults before I fix them up. Since I was recording and wanted this to be semi-pleasing to watch though, I decided to make him look okay. I started to wonder if I even needed a part-time job at all anymore because the money trees alone were giving me thousands of simoleons every day. I started with only one tree, but I found a second seed in my house randomly and I planted it next to the first one. I don't think this is something that's possible with later expansion packs. At least I do not remember ever seeing my plants reproduce and pop out some seeds. Strider made friends with a little boy named Kenneth. He was the son of Hank Goddard and Pauline Wan, and he visited their house often. With my story progression settings, there weren't a lot of children in town, so Kenneth was his only friend for pretty much his entire life. It was finally Camille's birthday today, and I attempted to have her celebrate with a cake, but she aged up autonomously before blowing out her candles. I began getting really antsy about Camille finding someone to get married to one day, and I spent an evening and a night looking at lots around town to find someone she may not have met before. Soon enough, it was Strider's birthday. That was pretty exciting, as having a teenager meant I could activate world adventures. I decided I wouldn't travel just yet, but I did want to be able to give him the adventurous trait. I initially had him age up without picking a trait at all, something the game clearly judged me for doing. I gave Strider another quick makeover in the morning, and since World Adventures was now ticked on, I gave him a panda shirt for his workout clothes, as one does. I set my sights on the mailman for Camille, but I was too late on greeting him, so he went home. His home ended up being an empty lot up in town, and he disappeared as soon as he reached a mailbox. I decided I would wait for the next time I'd get mail to greet him, and then it was a random woman the next time. Camille totally could have married a random woman, but I had already pictured a life with the first mailman in my mind, and I was now realizing it would never happen because he had clearly despawned. It might even have been caused by me following him home the first time I saw him. I guess you're not supposed to do that. The new daily grind now included popping out paintings at night and quitting the cemetery job. Painting was not paying well just yet, but it was already more lucrative than the part-time job had ever been. Kenneth aged up on the same day as Strider, so they were now both teenagers. I kept getting notifications of him starting multiple flirts with the different teenage girls in town, and I started getting jealous. I had not considered getting them together before this, but the rage I felt at my only friend getting into multiple relationships in 2 days could only mean one thing: I wanted him. I made their relationship official as quickly as possible so he would not go steady with another random person when I'd go back home. I may have also tried to fix my woohooer settings simply to attempt to woohoo with him in the shower because Kenneth reeked from pissing himself and it was just a plot to get him to shower. In the end, I couldn't make it work. On his first cool day as a teenager, Strider got an opportunity to visit France and interview with Sim. I said yes immediately, but I made sure to check when the opportunity would end since I did not want to travel just yet. I wanted to keep World Adventure stuff for when I would feel like I was done with Camille's story. Luckily for us, this specific opportunity did not have an end date. I was truly in the money grind to get a new house now, but it wasn't going super great. I always manage to make tons of money when I don't really need it, but when I'm trying to do it on purpose, I can't manage. If only I could have started a money tree empire, this new house would have been bought in no time. I started getting bolder with my mooching, going around town and asking people for money. Nobody wanted to give me large amounts of money though. Go figure out why. I asked Sam Sakamoto for a large sum of money and then he just started berating the air in my kitchen. People in this town are way too sensitive. This is a great representation of how long I'd been doing this though, the fact that Sam was an adult now. It didn't seem like I'd been playing for so long, but that may have been because I wasn't doing much progress towards my goals. I'm realizing now that I never really set definite goals for this base game Let's Play, and I think that's because I thought that using base game skills would carry me to a big house and a great life alone. Sure, Camille had a baby with a ghost and literally had money growing on trees, but she didn't have many other accomplishments to her name in the end. So let's set some goals 10 minutes too late into the video. Obviously, I wanted her to reach level 10 in 3 skills. I was already done with gardening, so now I was going to aim for painting and cooking for the next 2. The next goal would be to have at least 5 money trees on her yard, and that would imply searching for more rare seeds and planting everything until we got another, or hoping for more random seed drops. The final goal would be to find someone to get married to who wasn't already in a relationship that she would have to ruin. I'm thinking a repairman, a maid, an aged up babysitter because I'm not a cradle robber, a burglar, a policeman, anyone. Camille had been wanting to get married since the birth of Strider, which was already ages ago in-game. Adding world adventures had an effect I did not think about. Tourists were now hanging around Sunset Valley, mostly chilling in the cemetery for some reason. I fell in love at first sight with a lady in a yellow dress. Her swag and drip completely bewitched me. Unfortunately, it seems that as soon as you start talking to them, they run back home and you can't do anything about it. One side of Camille's face was enough to make the entire family fly back to China without a second thought. That's a bit rude if you ask me. I made sure to keep Strider active since he would end up needing the body skill for his future fights with mummies. So whenever he had time, I'd send him to the gym or the pool. I'm not sure what he was getting up to over there though, since I was almost never focused on him. I got 4 money trees really quickly, but that 5th seed was hell on earth to find. I think there might actually be a cap in the game of how many trees you can have on one lot because of how easy it had been to find them before. I found another person visiting from China in the cemetery while I looked for seeds, but he also ran away as fast as possible. I just decided to call him over and over to build relationship, time zones be damned. Camille really embarrassed me though. The first thing she spoke to him about were fortune cookies. Like, girl, do better. I was doing great progress on her cooking and painting skills, having her cook every meal and paint almost every night. Cooking books ended up being a lifesaver, and I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but I wish there were painting books as well. It would have gone way quicker. Camille's relationship with Huojin, the man she'd met earlier, was moving very quickly. He was single and also a full adult like her. It was too good to pass up. He wasn't single for long though, and I decided to move him in on the same day. I didn't have much time left, and I wanted Camille to have another kid before she'd age up to an elder. If I didn't act fast, she would be too old for that very quickly. Huojin was eager to move in and get serious with her to a degree that was almost concerning, but I was sure they would be happy together, so I didn't really care. He could murder me in my sleep once I was done with my challenges if he wanted. I realized Strider was really close to aging up, so I finally had him travel to France to finish that opportunity. Literally, all he had to do was talk to a dude, so I spent some time traveling to the winery to buy a nectar machine, getting a Vespa, and learning local recipes. I didn't want to start visiting tombs just yet because this was not Strider's time. I was still keeping him on the back burner. The day after he came back from his trip, it was time to age up. I gave him the discipline trait because I have no interest in doing photography, but martial arts are definitely a possibility. Even though he was an adult now, he stayed home and still slept in his mom's bed. Huojin was sleeping on the couch because he knew his place. Another age up, another makeover, and I made Strider look straight up crazy. He looks like he's an extra in some Indiana Jones type movie. He pisses me off. I had Camille and Huojin try for a baby on that day, and they succeeded on the second try. I realized that Camille had never woohooed for fun, but only for procreation. Sorry to my girl. While pregnant, she read cooking books at the library and ate lots of apples once more. She wanted another boy, so I made sure she would get what she wanted. Her life was already rough enough. Being the matriarch of any challenge is never easy. I always tried to give her what she wanted when I could. They had severely outgrown this house though, so I decided that as soon as my challenges were done, they would move somewhere else. They would continue living in Sunset Valley throughout the World Adventures part of this LEPacy. So this new house would most likely end up being their forever home until I moved the entire family to Twin Brooks for ambitions. Camille and Huojin randomly got married in the kitchen one day. If that's something you've never dreamt of doing, you're lying. The baby was born soon after and I named him Oliver. I was feeling names ending in ER that matched with their last name, Sailor. That name was going to make so much sense when we'd get to Island Paradise. I was already excited. Shortly after Oliver's birth, a money tree seed appeared outside and my prayers were answered. That meant one more challenge was done and I only had to focus on the skills now. At that point, Camille was level 9 in cooking and level 8 in painting, so we were really not far from success at all. I had her read a cooking book all night until she reached level 10, and only then could she go home to her husband and children. That's how I make sure to keep my Sims happy and fulfilled. It was Oliver's birthday soon after, but I had so much to do that I left him to be raised by his father and brother. Camille had to paint, it was just the way it was. The weirdest thing happened when the 5th tree finally became full grown though. It exploded, disappeared, and gave me a bunch of bills on the ground. This kind of confirmed for me that the game kind of doesn't want you to have more than 4 money trees at once. Maybe that isn't true at all and I just got unlucky with a freaky thing that can happen to money trees, but I did feel like I had to fight the game a lot to even give me that 5th tree to begin with. It going poof on me was all the confirmation I needed. Actually, this is recorded after the fact. I just read up on this a bit and there's no hard cap of how many you can have on one lot. Basically, the tree you already have will drop a seed when it reaches perfect quality. If it's neglected, it'll blow up in a bunch of bills. The game was only punishing me for killing my 5th tree, not for having 5 trees. I'm still choosing to count it as me having had 5 trees. This was now the final stretch. All I needed to complete all of my very late and self-imposed goals was to have Camille reach level 10 in painting. While her young son was being cared for by some random policeman, she painted and painted and painted until she finally got it. She painted all night and then all morning until she finally fulfilled her lifetime want of reaching level 10 in 3 different skills: gardening, cooking, and painting. She was also level 5 in both fishing and handiness. The little family moved out of this starter home, buying a house I had copied from Riverview. It had a bedroom for the parents, a bedroom for Oliver, and a garage that I intended to renovate and turn into Strider's personal space. Since I was late on choosing my goals for this first episode, I'm going to choose my World Adventures goals right now. Strider's lifetime want is to reach max visa in every country, so of course I'm going to attempt to get that done for him. I would also love to reach the end of iconic tombs like the Sphinx, the Landgrab Chateau, the Nectary, and the Dragon's Maw. I've only ever finished the chateau by teleporting in spots I had not unlocked yet, so we'll see how that goes. I'd like him to reach level 10 in martial arts and at least level 5 in nectar making. I've just done a personal playthrough where my main focus was nectar, so I'm giving myself a break by not trying to reach level 10 here. I would of course love for Strider's forever partner to be from one of the travel destinations. I like him and Kenneth together, but I think Ken is a free spirit and I should not keep him shackled. The first thing I do on the next episode might be breaking up with him. We'll see. Well, that was it for me today, guys. I love you and I care about you. Please follow me on all of my social medias. They will be linked down below, as well as my Ko-fi if that is something that can interest you. Now, sleep tight. Don't let the Bud Light bite. Bye-bye.